Well, hello, little kitty. You are so cute. Invincible. Kitty. I mean, how do you not pet that? Oh my gosh, my hair is crazy. I look like a crazy old man. Alright. I watched some Invincible. I looked at a cat. I had some coffee. You gonna come up here? And I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do today. Blank to-do list right now. Alright, okay. You have your existential crisis. Yeah, for sure gonna go to the gym. Should go for a climb. Jiu-jitsu's tonight. Should do some meal prep. Should be an interesting day here. Good kitty. Okay, got my fingernails all trimmed here. I do the two sports where you need to trim your fingernails, jiu-jitsu and rock climbing. But I've also kind of got my plan here. I'm gonna go to Snap downtown, smash my rear delts and biceps, and then I'm gonna go boulder at Nelson Grippet, there should be like no one there. It's a weekday. Not gonna run today. I was going to run, so I was gonna go like Grippet Caswell and go for a run. But I'm doing 2 hours of jiu-jitsu tonight, so I think I'm just gonna sneak and do the climbs. And then after that, if I have any energy, go to Canadian Tire for a little bit of chores action. So I'm reading this book right now about the process of legal proceedings in international law. And it's like super fascinating. And I just and this is I think about this too when I think about like all the insurance courses I'm taking and stuff. Like when I was a kid, I really wanted to be a lawyer. And I had no exposure to law until the last year, and now I love it, and it clicks in my brain really well, and I'm like, I would have been really good at that. Here at Snap. Oh yeah, okay, so I mentioned the plan. Rear delts, biceps. That's the goal. I gotta keep my eye on the prize. Rear delts, bis. All right. Starting off with some rear delt here. It's busier here today than it was yesterday, which is not what I expected. This will be all right, I think. I'm doing 120 here. I haven't done this in forever. Oh, it's actually kind of late. Let's look at that. I'm first exercise in. I've stuck to the plan so far. I miss the machines so much. They're so easy on your joints. Oh my gosh. I should go a little bit higher on the seat here. Okay, controversial gym opinion. The machine should be weighted to what the handles produce for force, not how much weight is on the stack, particularly if it's a double or triple pulley system. Kind of sets you up for weird expectations. Because this says it's 130 pounds. It's probably only actually 37 pounds each hand, maybe 75, 80 pounds. So, yeah. Pump mission number 1 is accomplished. Rear delts, pretty good pumps. Not fully pumped, but pretty good pump. So now I'm gonna do this bicep curl machine and try to get some bicep pump going on here. I'm pretty pumped about this rear delt though. I got so much rear delt and the machines were so easy on my shoulder. So I don't know what to do in the fall. Do I keep climbing? Do I come back to weightlifting? that gym has the best equipment, but the worst culture. It's just like, nobody there is even remotely friendly or like has any social skills. And it's just like super awkward. But got my pump. You know what? I was gonna go climbing. I was in there for like 2 hours. I ripped everything up. And so like, I would love to go climbing, but I know I got 2 hours of jiu-jitsu and I'm worried about junk volume, right? And it sucks because I'm like, oh man, really wanted to climb this weekend, but I don't know, maybe I'll squeeze one in on Wednesday night. That'll be okay. So I think I'm just gonna go home and do some more cooking, do some writing, just try to do some kind of domestic things here. I hope to do a lot of chores, but it just isn't in the cards. But that's okay. That pump was like, whew, so good. Look how cute you are. Look how crazy my hair is. I don't even know what to do with hair. Okay, here's my, I don't know what girls do with their hair. Do they split it down the middle? Well, now I'm gonna get a comb. Because this is a genuine question of mine. All right. Here we go. When you comb your hair, I'm pretty lazy and I just comb it behind my ears so it's not in my face. But is it more fashionable to kind of split it down the middle? I think for me, no. It makes me look like Benjamin Franklin. Which begs the question, what if I split it over here? Like that. Bam. And then I kind of look like Skrillex on this side. And Benjamin Franklin on this side. I don't know. I don't know what you're supposed to do with your hair when it's long. Or as they say, Benjamin Franklin in the streets, Skrillex in the streets 1 minute later. Alright, taking some downtime to do some reading. Reading my law book here. It's kind of interesting. It talks about, right now it talks about burden of proof, and it separates burden of proof from burden of production, which is really interesting because you would think burden of proof would include burden of production, but there would be circumstances in which burden of production would not fall upon the plaintiff. Like an example of like if you're suing your employer, the employer would have the burden of production, whereas you would have the burden of proof, which is kind of interesting. And then it talks about how burden of proof relates to case ripeness. So ripeness means that the damage has been incurred to the extent that you can, that you would say that you've incurred a loss in the file, like to claim a tort. So if if you have not yet incurred the loss, but the loss is potential or incoming, then it is not yet ripe for claimancy. But the burden of proof falls for you to establish that the harm has been suffered, which is kind of like, it's really interesting to see how like the whole kind of legal process pieces together. But that burden of production versus burden of proof, that's really interesting. But it also makes me think, like, I'm certain I'm not going to remember anything I read in this book in a few months. And like, it begs the question, is it worth reading if you don't remember what you read? But I guess there's this quote, I just Googled that actually before turning the camera on. There's this quote that like, you know, I can't remember every meal I ever ate, and yet that has given me the nourishment to be, you know, the physical being that I am. So, such as books, even if you don't remember them, perform or create the content of your mind. So, I don't know. It's fascinating. We'll see how much utility it ultimately serves me, I guess. I fell asleep reading and took a nap. There's nothing like a midday nap, man. Oh my gosh, so good. And I've never been a napper until like the last month. And now I'm like, oh yeah. So nice. All right, oh my gosh. I either look like Benjamin Franklin or like Mrs. Doubtfire, this hair. Anyway, jiu-jitsu's done. I did not recover from that nap. I was so exhausted that whole time. Now time to go home and maybe read, maybe write, who knows. The freedom from school weighs heavily on me, but that was fun. Got to be partners with Jess, which is nice. We're pretty much never partners, but she's so cool. So that's always nice to be able to partner up with her and chat with her. Oh, I could have brought my GoPro. We could have YouTube. That's alright though. It's so cool. Oh, here's my blueberry ice creams. They look super good. I might as well have a little bit here. Calories don't count if you have them right before bed. There we go. Very stiff. Look who's vlogging again. If I wear a hood, it's as if I have good hair. Man. Okay, a few things just right off the bat, food-wise. I actually ate enough protein today, and that's like insane. That's virtually impossible. So, feels weird. My stomach is like, the blueberry protein powder stuff was super good. I do find that stuff makes me feel really sick, so it did not make me feel good eating like the batch. Like I put it into the popsicle like stands, and then I ate like the leftovers, and it was like just made me feel absolutely gross. So I think that was a bit too much. But we'll see how the popsicles, like if I can bear the popsicles, well, then I think that would be really cool. And I think it would be really cool to make like like I eat those medjool dates, one of my favorite foods ever. If I make like one with like a chocolate protein powder and the medjool date chunks in it, I think that would be just crazy. Oh, it'd be so good. Didn't intend to talk about that, but it's on my mind. Snap. Amazing. Okay, here's my unfiltered opinion on Snap. Best machines in the city, worst culture in the city. Like everybody there is a dick. It's like, why? Come on. Like, I don't know, man. So, amazing equipment. For sure the best equipment I've ever seen in a gym, but man, just everybody there. Oh my gosh, just no communication abilities. Weird culture there. Combatives. So I took that nap and then I went and I was like instructing combatives, and I was like, I did not recover from that nap. I was so kind of zoned out. But I do find, and this is kind of something I think about sometimes with my anxiety, is that like, I'm very brilliant and I'm very driven. And if I can just like be more relaxed and like kind of take things slow, I think that like my brilliance kind of comes across a bit better. So I think that was one of those nights where I was like not very awake. It was in a sense fortuitous. And then it was RD tonight. Got to partner with Jessica, which was awesome. But Jessica's so cool, man. She's like the nicest person ever. Incredible positive force in the world. So awesome to be partners with her and chat with her. Then came home and ate a burrito, reading that legal book. The legal book is actually surprisingly fascinating. It was not at all what I thought it was, but it's really interesting. It's about like how to frame legal arguments as both the plaintiff and defendant, and it touches on all these various different things within law. And one of the things it talks about is interpretations of the American Constitution, and this is kind of, I find it really interesting. So there's two large kind of camps. There's people that say, hey, the Constitution is what it is, and we have to kind of trust it verbatim. But then there's the kind of other people that say, hey, this is out of date, this is really old, and it does not predict the world that we live in now. And that's the way I've always felt about it. I'm like, this is 250 years old. There's no way it didn't even know about light bulbs, let alone the internet. Like, it's not very relevant. So I've always fell into that camp. But the book really laid out the arguments for both of them really well. And it says, like, the traditionalists or the people that would believe in that contract would say, hey, that this thing, guides, if not the emergent aspects of contemporary life, but analogous pieces of it in which we could apply to that. So, for example, like the internet would fall under like some branch of like libraries and information technology or something like that. So there's relevance within it. And that's what they would say, is that like, these are the overarching things that guide our society, and though it may not be perfect in predicting the emergent future, it's in a sense the collective vision that we all initiate, and we compromise on our personal visions in order to enact this kind of overarching contract. So it kind of frames that really well and logically, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And more than anything, it proposed a great counterpoint to the people that say, hey, this isn't relevant anymore, by saying, when does it become irrelevant? Because that kind of forms a miasmic point of abstraction in which you could confound any contract by saying, this is too old now and it doesn't apply to the contemporary moment. In which case, then every contract would mean nothing. So it was a really great kind of piece to kind of look at both sides very critically and explore both their merit and detriments, which is really interesting. So it's such a random thing. Like, I never would have ever, read that book if I knew what it was about. But now I'm like, this is fascinating. As always, man, the EDO is like like the only time I ever feel like I really relax. Didn't get meal prep done. I wanted to have this cool recipe for what's called a Chilean pebra. It's kind of like a Chile's version of like a salsa. It's kind of interesting. I think it would go really well with the pork that I have, but didn't have time to make it today. Overall, this was a fun day. Did a lot. The workout was so good. Back to work tomorrow. That'll be okay. Back to Muay Thai tomorrow. So yeah, Kelly went to this big conference where they talked a lot of Muay Thai technical stuff, and it'll be his first Muay Thai coaching back. So me and Jessica were wondering if it's going to be like a cardio day there or a technical day. So I'm voting technical day. I guess we'll see what it ends up being tomorrow, but it should be very fun. And then, productive day though. It's nice. It's nice to be out of school and kind of like, I know I've said this a million times on the vlog, but life is kind of like you're sailing on this ocean and you have these various forces acting upon you that are, the waves that cast your ship about in the various directions of the external forces in your life. And then you set the intentions of your own sail to catch those winds and waves to kind of create an overarching direction in the way that you want to go. And now without school being such a strong external force, I can focus a bit of my free time on my own personal vision, which was very fulfilling. So I wish I had a cool closing remark. I don't. Like, comment, subscribe.